From the lowest depths to the highest sky island, the land of Hyrule feels incredibly fleshed out and full of activities. Link and their new abilities opens many doors of opportunity to interact with this world in many complex ways. During my journey throughout this world, I admired how dense the content supply was, and regularly challenged the game just to see how creative I could be in solving a problem. This feed of consistent interactivity with so many ways to engage led to feelings which evolved throughout my playthrough. How did the world's variety feel throughout my journey, and how did I feel when I tried to respond creatively? One day, I planned to follow a questline about the Yiga clan. I was on my way to some objective, and I discovered a cave. I made a quick detour to find the bubble frog within. The room of the bubble frog happened to be just close enough to pick up a nearby shrine's signal on my detector. I decided to find that before going any further. I left the cave looking for the shrine, and I found a backpack in Korok. I marked it on my map for later, and I went towards the shrine. It was up a river, only to find this shrine was incomplete. I needed the green stone. I triggered the waypoint and followed the beam to the stone. The stone was far away, so I made a car out of nearby parts. While driving the car there, I saw a character by a fire who wanted some fruit. I gave them fruit. This made them happy and also seemed to progress some other questline. I'm getting to a point here, don't worry. When I finally reached the stone, I attached it to the car I had made, and I began back up the hill. And on the way, I checked on the backpack Korok to see where their buddy was, and lo and behold, the destination was on the way to the shrine. So I attached the Korok to my car and continued back up the river. I dropped off the Korok, proceeded to the shrine, placed the gem, and went inside. After that, I got back to my previous quest. What was I doing again? Oh yeah, something with the Yiga clan. This series of events all took place within the same local area, the same little ravine between mountains in the Gerudo Desert, back to back to back to back. Experiences more or less like this can be found throughout the map of Hyrule. I find it incredible how quickly one's mission objective can branch off into these sub-adventures, and those branching even further, and all finding some way to resolve together and return back to this main goal. This world is very dense with content. Everywhere you look, you're likely to find something, a Korok, or a cave, or some materials, or some moblins, or more. These activities never felt like they were placed haphazardly, rather purposefully, to fill most nooks and crannies with goodies to find. These activities could be interacted with in many ways. With the Korok and Shrine Stone, I used a car. I could have chosen to skip the car and walk them up the hill with Ultra Hand, or I could have used some spare Zonai equipment to make a plane or a faster cart with jets. This can make the content seem even more dense. Even if you only choose one way to solve a problem, your mind may be sparked with many ideas of, ooh, what if? Sometimes I tried to entertain these ideas. I'd see a challenge in local parts, and instead of using those, I'd decide to find something else around to see if I could hack together a clever workaround. Solving a problem your own way may feel rewarding, perhaps with a sense of ownership to it. You didn't just build that, you imagined that, taking something from your brain and making it into a reality. I would try and make incredibly long bridges with logs to get to places I shouldn't have been able to reach. I would use other long sticks to fuse and grab faraway objects that I wanted to bring closer. And once I even built an airplane with a cannon to shoot down a large wall of vines. My creativity had one more goal, to try and see what solution I could make by sticking the most things around together. In shrines, this would require taking parts from one room to another or another until I had this behemoth of confused parts that just becomes a strange platform for me to climb or to cross, rather than making something actually useful, perhaps like a boat. While I consistently tried to find hacky workarounds, eventually I focused on the obvious. The parts say right next to the problem. There seem to always be the parts you need right next to the challenge. Augmenting this began to feel a lot more rewarding for my time. Using the parts around and then adding a jet to the obvious hovercraft. It felt like a better use of time than trying to find some way to make a log levitate. They both got me to the same place, so eventually the obvious path became the regular path. Creativity became delegated to cheesy shortcuts like using Ultra Hand, Recall, and Ascend to quickly get some height. The only time I can remember where I felt like I relied on my creativity was getting to the super high sky island. I found no nearby islands with simple paths, and this took a lot of parts, work, and Zonai charges to make it a reality. Where I did build the most machines was probably the depths. I saved this area for last. The surface had so many activities, my hands were full, and this new area would be a sweet treat for the end. I hadn't known that this area could be very helpful along the way. It seems like most of the armor is down there. No wonder why I first tried to save Lurelin Village with only 12 points of protection and failed a lot. I also wondered when I'd start to upgrade my batteries. Without traveling to the depths, I never came across many Zonai crystals, and therefore no currency to upgrade my batteries. I did not adventure through the depths until after the 4th temple. Up to that point, auto-built and Zonai batteries were unavailable to me. By that point, I had figured out how to solve puzzles with what is available, and the battery I already had. These felt more like novelties than upgrades. In the depths, I found armor too. Cool outfits and weapons were scattered around, though by this stage I had decent armor, and a trove of weapons, with more at my Terrytown house. These again felt more like novelties than rewards. Coming out of the depths, the only last big thing I had ahead was my fight against Ganon. I was confident if I completed this story, I would feel complete with the game, and might miss out on some great quests and content. So I returned to the surface and dove into a variety of activities. I gave people mushrooms, I worked on my house, I started a band, I got a full armor set from Coatland. I took some pictures of monsters, I drew my map of the depths, I finished the Yiga quest. I collected 120 shrines. And I still had so much more I could do. I had inventory slots to acquire, armor sets to complete, paragliders to earn, fairies to appease, and frogs to find. A lot of this honestly sounded like fun, but it didn't feel like it anymore. Somewhere along the way, interacting with these activities stopped feeling exciting and rewarding and instead felt like checking things off a list. A list that I felt like I had to check off. Don't I want to know what cool vehicles the Yiga made? Or how about what Ganon's horse looks like? And wouldn't it be cool to find the Fear's deity set? These questions felt less and less like fun, and more like fear of missing something. When a game has this much content, it's likely that a lot of players will miss a lot of it. This desire to check things off kept me entertained, but the moments brought less and less joy. The rewards came with the same audio jingles, and the items often didn't contribute to my confidence to take on that final boss. The pleasure and satisfaction was being lost. The final fight luckily made up for this. Seeing Ganon face to face was a palate cleanser. This new challenge in a new environment with new music and new responses. I was patient with his attacks, barely able to flurry rush. I won't spoil the finale here. I will just say it greatly raised my spirits and resolved the story in a way that I really enjoyed. Tears of the Kingdom kept me hooked in a way that was sweet, then bitter, with a pleasant goodbye. Many early experiences filled me with curiosity and joy. Exploring the land of Hyrule from hell, heights, and horseback was captivating. The compulsion to engage with each and all activities remains even when the rewards deplete. Tears of the Kingdom was fun until it was FOMO. I am grateful to have adventured through an experience like this, even though the emotional heights could fade.